This is gonna sound weird, so I'm just gonna invite you to go with it for a second. But imagine if it were suddenly possible to know everything about anyone. So if someone wanted to know all the intimate details of your life, it would be available to them. So we're talking about all those embarrassing things that you'd rather keep hidden, all the things that you regret every time you've lied or hurt somebody out of conceit or selfishness or worse, all the things you've done when nobody was watching. All of those things would suddenly be available to anyone who wanted to know. In thinking about this, for whatever reason, the first thing that stood out to me was that if this really happened, it would be virtually impossible to get a first date. Which is interesting because whenever we're constructing a profile for something like one of those dating websites, we're always doing our best to portray ourselves in as positive a way as possible. So we will neglect all our shortcomings and we'll do our best to amplify all of our best traits. But instead, in this imaginary scenario that I've described, it would be a profile filled with pictures of you when you first wake up in the morning and descriptions of you on your worst days. Now, there's a lot of takeaways from this imagined scenario that I could spend a lot of time on, but I want to focus in on just one, which is that it reveals how deliberate we are in casting ourselves in the best possible light, and how apparently necessary this is for us to initiate new relationships. It underscores for me that in the real world where we're able to keep these things hidden to a certain degree, that as we grow in relationship with people, eventually that's going to lead to disappointment. Almost every relationship starts off based on the perception and acceptance of this incomplete version of ourselves. We kindle our relationships in a way based on a lie. And it's only later on that we start to let down our guard and reveal that other side of who we are, often because it's just too exhausting to keep the act up. When we go on first dates, we are on our absolute best behavior. We're trying to convince that other person that we really are as great as that profile suggests we are. But the longer a person is exposed to you or I, the more that facade starts to crumble and the real you or I starts to pronounce itself. And this process will inevitably lead to disappointment for your significant other, because that's not really what they signed up for. When they agreed to that second and third date, they thought it was going to be with the person that they went on that first date with. But after spending enough time with you, they will eventually catch you being yourself. Your flaws will be revealed. And this process can be really heartbreaking for some people. You might ask yourself, what happened to that person that I had so much fun with in the beginning? What happened to that person that made my pulse race every time I received a text from them? If I don't feel that way about them anymore, if I'm not excited about them anymore, does that mean it wasn't really meant to be, or that I don't actually love them anymore? The reason that you don't feel that way anymore, that they don't excite you anymore, is because that person that you were falling for, that person that used to make your heart race and said all the right things on that first date, that person doesn't really exist. You were falling for one side, just their best side, but the longer you've spent with them, the more they've taken on a dimension that is less flattering but more real. So the thing that we have to learn, and it's best if we can get a grip on this principle before it's too late, before we're in an actual relationship, is that your experience of growing in a committed long-term relationship with somebody will be one in which experiences of disappointment and occasions for forgiveness will grow and increase as time goes on. At first, you'll fall in love and become infatuated with somebody who only shows you their best side. But eventually, it'll just be impossible for them to keep that act up. And so the closer you get, the more their faults will be revealed and the more you'll have to forgive. So in light of that, we will always come to a crossroads in every relationship. Are we going to learn to forgive and love somebody no matter what? Or are we going to let that experience of disappointment define our ability to get close to somebody? And this experience of having to forgive somebody as you grow closer to them, obviously it's not easy, but it's the test of true love. It's a challenge to you to become more loving, because real love should cost us something. And what I'm trying to do in this video is prepare you for that cost. If love deserves to be put on that high and noble pedestal that we place it on, then it shouldn't be easy. Why would we admire people that only love others who compulsively make them feel good? That's why we insist on that famous line in our wedding vows, for better or for worse. In our brave new age of no-fault divorce, we don't really respect those vows anymore. But that's what real love means. It's what it challenges us with. We can either learn to love someone and forgive them no matter what at every step, or we can just keep chasing that elusive relationship with that fictitious person that will never require us to forgive them of their brokenness. If anything I've said in this video rings true for you, I should probably point out that none of this is really actually from my own experience. It's just from books I've read and from other people's experiences. My wife is actually someone who is just constantly surpassing my wildest expectations. And I'm only half joking, I think. Anyways. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed that, then please consider subscribing and liking, and come find me on Facebook and Twitter. It's a huge help when you do that. It helps us get these videos in front of more and more people. And a big thank you goes out to You Catholic for presenting these videos. And if you want to support the making of these videos, then please consider supporting my work as a digital media and marketing expert. My company, Holdsworth Design, specializes in branding, web and graphic design, marketing, social media, videography, and all that kind of good stuff. So if you know of a parish, a diocese, a ministry, or a business that needs help in those areas, then please send them our way, and I'm sure we can help them out.